Okay, welcome. We are so glad to have everybody here. My name is Jamie Turner. I am an author and a speaker, as well as a marketing thought leader. I am here with Jeffrey Campos. We're going to do an introduction to Jeffrey in just a second. He's going to talk to us about a lot of different topics today. We're going to have a terrific event. This hangout is really geared towards talking about modern trends in international marketing, which is a constantly changing world, as everybody knows. There's a lot going on that front, and we are sponsored by, and this was put on by the folks at Global Chambers. I'm the Global Chamber. I'm going to read this. I'm a big fan of Global Chamber, but I don't want to miss anything on this, so bear with me as I talk about Global Chamber. It's a thriving and collaborative community of CEOs, executives, and professionals in 500 metros, taking on the world of global business. They have millions of trusted resources, followers, and connections in over 5,000 cities. Support members growing globally by filling in the gaps that happen across borders. That gives you a sense of what Global Chamber does. One of the other things they do are events like this, where we get to talk to experts like Jeffrey Campos and ask questions about how to improve your marketing, how to do business globally, and how to live in a world that's constantly changing. So without any further ado, Jeffrey, I'd love for you to introduce yourself. I know you're the executive director of Global Chamber in Denver, but tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Sure. The name is Jeffrey Campos. I am a marketeer by trade. Been in the public relations, relationship management arena for the last 25 years. I passed CEO of the Denver Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, and currently have a marketing firm here in town, Elite Advantage, and I am also the newly appointed executive director of Global Chamber Denver. So I'm excited about that. It's some great opportunities, and I love multicultural markets, and that's what I'm definitely going to be involved in.
Excellent. That sounds great. Well, let's dive in. I'm gonna ask you several questions that are questions that we've pre-established, but I'm also going to ask you to talk about just various things.
Sure.
Multiculturalism sounds like it would be something that would be fascinating to a lot of people. I know I speak around the globe and have experiences at different cultures and how to talk to different audiences. So, and then also within countries, whether it's multiculturalism within the United States as an example, and how to talk to different cultures there. But mostly, I want to ask you this first question. What are some of the most common branding problems internationally minded companies should be prepared for, and how should they prepare in order to kind of hit that out of the park?
Well, I think one of the major problems or concerns that companies have is they go into the market thinking that it's going to be translated or dealt with in the same manners. And so there's a lot of misconceptions of, everybody speaks English, and that's really not the case. So sometimes we translate things into English or the exact way it is, but the main thing, it's about people. Every culture has different. I mean, cultures have different ways they view things, whether it be family, whether it be how they deal with business, what time they come to work. Some don't come at 7 o'clock or 7:30 like some of the companies. They nuances that you have to be aware of, and that's, I think, the major mistake that a lot of American companies go into international markets without that knowledge.
Gotcha. That makes sense. So what I'm hearing you say is one of the things you said that I thought was fascinating is it's more about than just translating. So, for example, if you're an international corporation and you have a brochure and you think that, oh, we'll just take what we've written here in North America and translate it into another language and we're going to be fine.
Right.
Sounds like that's loading yourself up for a problem. Is that accurate?
Yes, yes. I mean, there's some certain translations that have been made, and it really offends one. Like the one like Fresca years ago, and that one of the bottlers. Fresca is something totally different in another country, and it was really insulting. And the list goes on of different things that's done that is sometimes insulting, or it really is a deterrent for them to buy it. I mean, it can relate to death, it can relate to family values. So you got to be cautious of it. Even naming a product. I mean, the one that really, because it's from Latin America, is when Chevrolet did the Nova.
Yeah.
You know, Nova, they started selling it in Mexico City or Mexico, and Nova means no, doesn't move.
Yeah.
So you have to sometimes change names of your product, like Diet. Diet is offensive for in some countries where they say Diet Pepsi. Well, they don't want to hear Diet. So there's different things. You have to brand it differently. So you have to structure it around different parts of what.
So that's interesting about the Diet Pepsi. I had heard, of course, of the Nova case study, but the Diet Pepsi, I wasn't familiar with that. So what is offensive in that arena?
Well, because people don't want to talk about their weight. They're very conscious of it. They feel offended that you're giving them a product that is of, are they overweight? And this was in Europe, and Europeans, feel that they're not overweight.
Yeah.
There's not that misconception of the big American, but out there it's offensive. And then when you bring a product from America, they're thinking we're not like you. We don't need Diet. So they put light. They put Pepsi and then light. And that sold. That worked.
Well, I had, it goes beyond marketing in terms of multiculturalism and understanding who you're talking to. So, as an example, just real briefly, I do talks, and I was in Amsterdam and went to the audience, and I'm used to getting the audience engaged by saying, "Okay, everybody, go ahead and pick up a pad of paper and write this down," and it's just a speaker's technique of getting people engaged. And so I did that, and the Dutch, everybody in the audience, it was 100 people, 200 people, whatever it was, they just sat there. And I was like, no, really, grab a sheet of paper, get a pen, I want you to write something down. Did not move. Third time, I was like, guys, seriously, I'm not getting off this stage until somebody picks up a piece of paper. But what it was, you do that in Latin America, and I've done that same technique in Mexico, I've done that technique in Cairo, I've done that technique all over the globe, and in certain cultures, they're very engaged and they want to be engaged with you. And for the Dutch, Northern Europeans, I guess is a broad stroke generalization, but at least the Dutch were sitting there just going, nope, not gonna budge. So it was a lesson learned. I don't know if you have experiences on something like that, or other product experiences you want to share about just kind of things that go wrong and haywire on that front.
Right. None come to mind in regard to. But I think the main thing is when you're dealing with people, and we talked about the different strategies as a marketer in regard to product, the 4 Ps we talk about.
Yeah.
But one of the things is that you got to look at the people, and I think I include in 4 Ps. I've added people to that because people is important when you're talking about international marketing, and that's where the cultural impact. And sometimes you have to get people and understand their culture, but you need to get people on the ground. And that even works in different states here. Really made my business thrive because of the relationships I have. It's people. But when you go to other markets, you not only have to know what the city's landscape is, you also have to know what the culture landscape is.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what companies have to do, is focus on getting the people in place and getting them, also committing to the community, because a lot of countries, culturally, they want to see you're committed. You're not just in town to make a dollar.
Well, I love that. So it's not the 4 Ps, it's the 5 Ps, because it includes people. I think that's just spot on and a great way to think about that. So it's price, product, place, promotion, and people. So wonderful. Let me ask you about the effect of social media and how that's changed the international marketing landscape. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think it's very critical. And again, it goes back to knowing what you're putting on. I mean, like for example, LinkedIn. LinkedIn is internationally used. So that's one. I mean, some countries have their own similar sites, but LinkedIn is something that you could use internationally. It responds. Yet, what your messages are, sometimes you may have to put it into Spanish. You might have to put it into French. Diversify what you're doing to impact different markets. But I think what you have to do is that's going to be a growing interest for companies to grow their products and get their message out. But you have to be cautious of how you're putting that content. It goes back to what I said earlier. It's translation. Not only is it in marketing or advertising, it's also in LinkedIn. It's another form of advertising your product. So you have to be very cautious on what you're saying and how you're doing it.
Gotcha, that makes sense. So how do you see social media, LinkedIn, and other things evolving and changing in the future internationally? Do you think it's something that's here to stay? Do you think it's a temporary blip? Or what do you see it evolving into moving ahead?
Oh, it's going to just even get more engaging for people, for companies. It's going to be a great opportunity for people to expand, especially now, you know, it's a global marketplace. I mean, companies all have to look at the global marketplace as an opportunity to grow their companies. So social media will be that outlet to be able to convey that message across all channels. And I think it's just going to be more engaging for people to get involved. But you have to be strategic on how you're doing this to be able to deliver that message that you really want.
Okay, that makes sense. So what about the importance of cultural empathy? Can you expand on that? We've talked a little bit about that when we say it's more than about translation. It's really about understanding the culture and how that affects. So tell us a little bit about that.
You know, I think it's very critical. It goes back to, you know, when I talk about people, you have to understand their culture. You have to understand simple things like, you know, don't hold what we're doing right now on a holiday that's in another country because it's going to be inappropriate. You know, we're not going to have many people. So you have to be aware of other markets, what their holidays are, what their customs are, and be able to bridge that communication between them. So let's just not have tunnel vision with our own market and expect to have success in other marketplaces internationally. So we have to be aware of what all the cultural nuances are and be able to deliver that message.
Gotcha, that makes sense. So how do you acquire cultural empathy? What are the kinds of things that you can do in order to acquire cultural empathy?
I think it's just being able to understand what their message is and what their beliefs are, feelings, whether it be religious. Some countries are more religious than others, and they have different beliefs. So it's an understanding of what your message is to be able to deliver to them.
Okay.
So it's really a lot of research. You got to do your homework. Don't just go into markets without that.
Okay, that makes sense. Let's talk a little bit about you and the kinds of the work that you do that's multicultural, and just sort of dig down a little bit into that and find out a little bit about the kinds of things that you've done, the experiences you've had. So our watchers, our viewers, and our listeners are interested in learning from the kinds of experiences you've had and I've had. What are the kinds of things that you work on that are the hurdles you've had to overcome in terms of multicultural marketing?
It's multicultural marketing is more of an understanding of what you're going to work with, who you're dealing with, what their beliefs are, what their feelings, what their interest is. I mean, and I think we have someone on here.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm here.
Great, Lucy. Good to have you. I'm going to round the bend here with Jeffrey, and then we'll have a series of questions for you as well. But glad you could join us. But Jeffrey, just as you're wrapping up on that, you were sort of expanding on the idea of what it is and what it's about.
I think on the multicultural aspect, it's the understanding and knowledge of it, and to be able to communicate what product service that you're sending to these companies or these individuals, and that's where social media comes into play, advertising, and the message that you deliver.
Cool. Excellent. That's great. Well, thank you, Jeffrey. Stay with us. We're going to jump over to Lucy here. Lucy, is our sound working for you? Can you say something?
Thanks. It's working okay. Thanks, Jamie. Don't you love it when Silicon Valley is the one with tech problems? I'm terribly sorry for the delay.
Don't worry about it. We've all been there. I know every time I get a new computer, which I think was your situation here, it is always a struggle to get things working back up and running. Lucy, we've gone through some questions with Jeffrey. I'm going to now have similar questions for you, but I want to start by asking you to introduce yourself. We know you're President and Chief Executive Officer at the Newcom at Newcom Global. Can you give us a little bit, in 30 seconds, just a little background on what you do and the kinds of things that you do?
Thanks, Jamie, and apologies, the sound is still going in and out, but I believe you just asked me to give a quick profile of what we do and who I am. So, hi everyone, I am Lucy Newcomb, and I run the Newcom Global Group. We are a management consulting firm based in Silicon Valley, where tech problems still occur, apparently. And we've been working in global markets for about 20 years. It's my pleasure to join this morning. I'll keep it slow so that we can carry on with your program.
Yeah, that's okay.
Good morning.
Well, it's great to have you here, Lucy. I'm going to kick things off with a question for you. What are some of the more common branding problems internationally minded companies should be prepared for, and how should they prepare? So if you can give us your perspective on that, that would be terrific.
Thank you. Because the sound is a little funky for me, I guess I'm all the way across the country, but I can talk to Asia this morning just fine. I think you asked me about what are some of the global readiness, what we would call global readiness, things people can do to prepare. Did I hear that correctly?
Yeah, you did. Yep.
Thank you. Well, you know, I have some strong views, so I'll just own that from the beginning. I think having a global mindset is extremely important as early on in your business as possible, but I really believe strongly in having strong global markets first, having a track record, having kicked the tires quite a bit in one's local market before moving to global. I think it's so much more complicated, and it's really important to kind of know your strengths and leverage them and be prepared for any weaknesses and, you know, choose markets accordingly.
Excellent. So it sounds like start with that core and then build from there. I know you're having trouble hearing me, so I'm going to ask you question number 2, which is of the 4 P's of marketing: product, price, place, and promotion. Which one faces the greatest change when entering a foreign market?
So I'm going to be a rebel self. I actually think there are 7 P's of marketing now, and the one I think is the most important is not in the 4, and that is positioning. I actually think that is the most important. Mm-hmm. But what I mean by that is how a company shows up in a foreign market, especially compared to other potential competitors there, to the marketing landscape, to what customers need. I think that all of that requires great study of a market and of prospects and customers. So that's my personal vote. But of the 4, you know, I really do believe in the combination. I often out here in the West, for some reason, people tend to equate marketing with communications or promotion. And of course, that's really important. But I really think all 4 blended together are essential.
Yeah.
I actually went back and did pricing a few years ago and became a pricing expert because I thought that was the most neglected. So again, out of a rebel cause, I'll say I think pricing is underrated. It's the most important in current states. In the recessionary times we've had, I'd have to say pricing was the most important, strategic pricing.
Cool. Let me ask you, because Jeffrey also added to the 4 Ps. You talked about, Lucy, the positioning. Jeffrey added in people, which I thought was a very valid thing. Now, you said, Lucy, there were 7. So what are we missing there? Is there another P or 2 that you can throw in there?
Well, I think the other one that I could offer at this point would be planning. People is one of them also, and then planning. I think that again, creating that sense of integrated from the floor and having a sense of planning and strategy, especially in global markets where, it's kind of like, I tell customers of ours, clients of ours, it's kind of like driving in a taxi cab. If you don't know where you're going, you can rank up the meter really fast.
That's a great analogy. I love that. That if you're just driving around and not following a roadmap, then you can add to the meter very, very quickly. That's terrific. Well, let's talk, Lucy, a little bit about the proliferation of social media in the international marketing landscape. What's your experience? What's your perspective on that? And I love the fact that you're the leading the charge for the rebels here in terms of being saying things that are counter to what people might ordinarily think. What are your perspectives on social media internationally?
Well, thank you, Jamie. I would have to say I don't think I have a contrary perspective. I think more of an expanded perspective. I think all of what we've been doing in traditional marketing, classical marketing, is still very relevant. I get concerned about the folks who are analytics junkies for that very reason. I think we're expanding our opportunities to learn and grow our businesses through these additional perspectives, of which I hope I am starting to embrace here. So thank you for that. I think social media is critical, like any other marketing vehicle. I personally have had great opportunities to connect with people, such as today. Global Chamber found me on social media, so I've had several business opportunities as a result, and I would assume that our clients would as well.
Excellent. That sounds terrific. Last question, then I'm going to do a wrap-up and ask each of you where people can find out more about you, or if there's anything else that you want to add into the conversation. So, Lucy, for you, Jeffrey's already gone through these questions. What's the importance of cultural empathy in a foreign market, and how do you acquire cultural empathy?
I'm sorry, did you say cultural empathy?
Yes.
Well, I think that's challenging. I think I might know something similar called cultural intelligence. I'm not really familiar with the term cultural empathy as much as culture and empathy. So I hope I'm aligning with you there.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you. I really think that we can't study and connect with customers and prospects enough. And I think often internationally it's very easy for us to make assumptions such as, oh, they speak English, we speak English, let's go. And that's, to me, not what I would consider a culturally empathetic approach. It's not even really a logical approach if you think it through in some of the data. But I think just connecting with customers, whether it's or prospects also, whether it's a focus group or whether it's an informal social gathering on a trade show floor, different markets will have different conventions for what's appropriate, how to do that. Obviously in Europe, saying hello and chatting, and it might be in here or in Africa or Asia, but just connecting with people, really.
Yeah, great point. I think at our core we're all human beings, but the exterior of that are these cultural issues that we have to honor and respect moving forward. So terrific job for both of you. Thank you very much. I really do appreciate it. Lucy, I know you're still having a little trouble hearing me, but Jeffrey, I'd like to see if you have any wrap-up statements that you want to say, and then also let people know where they can find a little bit more out about you.
I think what I have to conclude is that I think companies need to go with the idea that they need help. I mean, everybody needs help on growing their markets, especially when they start to focus internationally. And I think they need people on the ground. They need people that have experience in those marketplaces. So it's just really an awareness of everything that is involved in marketing your product that's totally different from here in the States. How can I be reached? As the new executive director at Global Chamber Denver, I can be reached on our website at globalchamber.org. And my address is jeff@globalchamber.org. So if anybody needs to reach out to me and get any advice or assistance, I am definitely there for you.
Okay. Terrific. Lucy, how about you? If you can do a summary, a sort of your perspective on global marketing, and then also let everybody know where they can reach you, that would be great.
Thank you, Jamie. And congratulations on your new role, Jeff. Sounds terrific, and lucky Denver. So my perspective is, especially since we are emerging markets specialist, and we specialize in tech and services companies, although certainly not exclusively, just that's our particular focus. There's really never been a better time to re-examine your global readiness perspective, re-examine your assumptions, and you know, there are days for many of us where I think it's all we can do to kind of focus on what's already on the desk. But if you can raise your vision just a bit, this is a phenomenal time because people are just beginning to come back. Markets are just beginning to regain their strength. And really, there's never been a better time to take a great look at where you want to grow next. We can be reached at hello@newcomglobal.com. That's N like November, EWCOM like Mary, M like Mary again, global.com. Thanks so much, Jamie.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Lucy and Jeffrey. You sure do appreciate it. I'd also like to thank our host, Global Chamber. As we mentioned, it's a thriving and collaborating community of CEOs, executives, and professionals, all designed to help one another out just the way Jeffrey and Lucy have helped us out here today. My name is Jamie Turner. I'm the author of How to Make Money with Social Media, as well as another book called Go Mobile. I can be reached at Jamie, Jamie.Turner at 60secondmarketer.com, and that's 60, and then the word second, and then marketer.com. Thank you very much for joining us today. Jeffrey and Lucy, thanks for being with us, and we'll see you next time.
Wonderful. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.